We can all agree that the Council's airport recommendations affirm that the city-owned airport has two legitimate functions. As a unit of national mass transit system and a tourist gateway to the northwest of Vermont, and both are services to residents and businesses in Vermont, both are public goods. But over the decades, BIA has taken on a third function, which your own Strategic Planning Committee and the Vision 2030 study ignores, providing facilities to the Air Force and its system of 88 Air National Guard and Air Reserve bases integrated into 59 active bases in the U.S., 7 in Europe, 7 in the Pacific, 10 in the Middle East, et cetera, et cetera. The City Council is making national defense policy here in Burlington, either affirmatively or by default. At present, that policy devotes $1.4 trillion annually to the national defense, a price tag that includes Homeland Security, National NSA, et cetera, Industry, we spend 6 and 7 times what China spends in its military, and 40% of the global arms budget. Industry won't pull the plug because 39% of DoD spending goes to private contractors like Lockheed Martin. At the same time, there's been congressional capitulation because virtually most members of Congress become lobbyists when they're finished their term. 50% of senators become lobbyists, and most of their staffs. So where is a solution going to come from? It's going to come from local government.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson, and thank you for wrapping up.
There's an old advertising model that goes, tell them what you want to tell them often enough, and sooner or later, they'll come to believe it as a matter of course. It seems to me that that's how a lot of the proponents of the F-35 have been proceeding. Because the reasons for basing the F-35 in Burlington are based on a pack of oft-repeated opinions, which are in direct opposition to the facts published by the Air Force, the FAA, and the World Health Organization. Let's be clear. The F-35 will not bring new jobs to Burlington. All we're talking about are existing jobs. While the Air Force has stated in black and white the Guard base will remain in Burlington and the mission will continue regardless of whether the F-35 is based here, the mayor keeps on saying that the jobs will go away if the F-35s don't come. That's just not true. While the Air Force has determined that the noise blast from the F-35 will be at least 3 times louder, the mayor says it's no different. That's not true either. When confronted with factual data showing that people, and especially kids, living in the high noise zone will suffer negative health consequences and cognitive impairment, politicians say they encourage the Guard to mitigate the noise. Yet, the Air Force has determined in black and white that the noise blast cannot be mitigated. So continuing to talk about the myth of mitigation is a lie. What about the issue that the chances of the F-35 crashing in a residential area are 200 times greater? No response. What about the issue that it destroys existing affordable housing and disproportionately affects low-income and minority people? No response. Politicians talk about a trade-off, people versus jobs, but the fact of the matter is that the F-35 does not create or preserve jobs, and the people will suffer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cohen. And there's a lot of very loud You were doing a great job. Just keep it up, okay?
First, I want to say if there were democracy, justice, respect for human dignity associated with the F-35 warplane, we wouldn't be here tonight. Those opposed to the basing have been denied the ability to present facts and important experience to those living, working, and going to school near the Burlington Airport to anyone with substantial power to influence the basing of the plane. The congressional delegation and the governor have refused to meet with affected residents and have disregarded the environmental impacts. And unfortunately, that also applies to the mayor here in the room. They have not stood for protecting public welfare or protecting the environment. In Senator Leahy's case, he has even dealt insider trading to help secure the basin as reported in the Boston Globe. So this chance that we have to present the evidence, the facts, and the real experience of living under the warplanes is extremely important. The situation, I would say, is night and day compared to the last time that the council took up this issue. In terms of our understanding of the severity of the impact and of the exposed corruption of the boondoggle F-35 program nationally. We get that opposing the basing draws the fire from the political and economic establishment that will benefit from the basing. And we have been experiencing this for almost 3 years. But what we need you to do is use your power as landlord to the Air National Guard to stop the basing. We hope that you will act with the principle of the Winooski City Council when it voted no. That council responded to the people most impacted by the basing and to the overwhelming evidence that this basing would be a horrendous and irreparable mistake for the region. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak. I speak in opposition to the F-35 bed down at Burlington International Airport. I'm a recent homeowner in Burlington who lives at 28 Prospect Hill. And I also serve as the senior minister of First Congregational Church in Burlington as pastor of that church. I don't speak for everyone in my congregation, but I do feel I have a pastoral duty to raise hard questions. I think there are proposals that might have an adverse effect on people in my church or in the communities that we serve. Because of the fourfold increase in noise from the F-35, up to 4,000 additional homes in Winooski, South Burlington, and Burlington would be rendered unfit for residential use. This designation could result in a decline in property values. Therefore, put some properties at risk of foreclosure. I also question whether there is a comprehensive economic plan which includes the basing of the F-35 and its analysis. As far as I know, the proponents of the F-35 to date have not offered any concrete economic and job plan for the region that can be analyzed and debated beyond the preservation of the Vermont National Guard. Demolition of homes and buyback programs are part of the plan. We need to know what that plan is, and we need to be able to debate it in an open, transparent way. I have a lot of respect for the military in this country and the Vermont National Guard, but that does not absolve us from asking strong questions about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening. My name is Catherine Kirby. I'm an associate professor of philosophy at St. Michael's College and director of the Global Studies program. I have a doctorate in philosophy, and my specialization for at least 15 years has been theoretical and applied ethics. Frankly, I find it ethically outrageous that this basing might go forward, given all the information that's come to light over the past year. The revised DEIS says very clearly that Burlington is not the environmentally preferred alternative. None of the other basing options cause this kind of harm to residents. I simply believe that this plane does not belong here in the most densely populated area of our entire state. It belongs in a remote location. There are many future rounds of basing decisions to come. Vermont should be pulled out of this round while the F-35 has no flight history or safety record. Of course, it would be a great honor, as someone said, for the Guard to be chosen first. But this is an honor that would come at the expense of thousands of people's health, financial stability, and quality of life. Frankly, if I were offered a reward or an honor for excellent work, and I learned that even just one person would be harmed, I would refuse that reward. We cannot choose honor over justice. Proponents say that the majority of Vermonters support the basing, so the matter should be a closed case. However, if we look at history, majorities are not always right. And in fact, majorities often support decisions that oppress minorities. Knowledge, understanding, and wisdom must guide this decision, not merely an uninformed consensus. Those who are speaking out and asking questions are branded as unpatriotic. However, it is very patriotic to insist that one's society seek justice rather than wealth or honor. It is very patriotic to defend one's home, health, and quality of life. Our homes are our refuge and often the culmination of a lifetime of work and savings. Let us recognize that no honor and no gain ought to be accepted when it comes at the expense of so many of our neighbors.
Thank you, Ms. Kirby. Thank
Welcome.
Thank you for this opportunity to provide you with the following information. I'm here to talk about noise mitigation. There currently is a rumor being spread that the projected noise impact of the F-35 stealth bomber / fighter jet can be mitigated based on past performances. Well, let's review how it's possible for Vermont Air Guard to claim that the current F-16 noise footprint has shrunk over the years. In 2006, the F-16 engines were replaced with what was supposed to be a quieter engine. Local communities surrounding the airport were relieved. They welcomed less noise impact on their neighborhoods and their lives. Instead, for some unexplained reason, external fuel tanks were added or mounted on the F-16s. Since 2008, the jets have been flown in afterburner 95% of the time, and the impact on the communities surrounding the airport has been intense and destructive. By taking off steeper, faster, and in afterburner 95% of the time, the noise impact on the East Peak, South Burlington, and Williston was significantly increased, while decreasing slightly the noise impact on Burlington and Colchester. That's the kind of mitigation that the Guard points to as the way they successfully have been good neighbors and sensitive to our communities, by disproportionately making some of us suffer more noise so that others might receive less. That's what we can expect through mitigation, more and intense damage on our selected communities that have been deemed acceptable collateral damage by those who support the basing, whose homes and lives, incidentally, will by and large be relatively unimpacted by the noise. The affected homes and neighborhoods will suffer damage to their health and safety, in addition to the indignation and loss of property values from being deemed incompatible for residential use. Meanwhile, the FAA clearly states that land acquisition and relocation is the only alternative that would eliminate the residential incompatibility of homes impacted by this noise level. So the next time you hear someone claiming that the noise of the F-35s will somehow be less than what the United States Air Force itself claims, please understand the Air Force clearly states that the F-35 is 3 to 4 times louder than the F-16s, and they cannot reduce the noise of the F-16s which they've flown from here. So how credible then is the claim to alter the noise of the plane they have never flown? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Jim Dumont. I practice law in Bristol. I put on each of your desks a memorandum that I wrote. It's 2 pages, and I attached to it a report from Larson Appraisal Services. Since I only have about 120 seconds, I'm very short and refer you to the manual. I assume there's some of you that take the position that the F-35 will be the greatest thing to reach Vermont since Ben was dishing ice cream on Church Street. And I'm really here to speak to you, those who favor the F-35. I'd like to ask that you read the memo and consider what the fiscal risk is to the city if you go forward with the F-35. And I hope you will refer the memo that I've written to your city attorney and get her independent opinion of what I've written. The research I've done in the case, the city is at risk for tens of millions of dollars in damages liability. And the research I've done further convinces me that the Air Force and the Air Guard are immune from suit, which means it will be you left holding the bag. And the other point I want to make in my few seconds left is that you have a golden opportunity right now to fix that. I'm still focusing on those who favor the F-35 and look at this just as a fiscal question, because the joint use agreement that the city has with the Air Force expired 6 weeks ago. It is being renegotiated as we sit here. And you, as the city council under the city charter, are the ultimate authority as to what happens with the airport. It's in the city charter, as I cited in the memo. And you can direct the city attorney to put language in the joint use agreement that will require the Air Force and Air Guard to hold you harmless. See if they put their money where their mouth is.
Thank you.